What's up? The US Under-17 team just beat Trinidad 3-1 in a very good game by the USA team, or at least in the first half. We're looking a lot better than we did in the first game. I think just playing, getting more acclimated to the team, that's really helping out these guys. And just say the team flowed a lot better, I guess is the right way to say it. Like chances were coming, chances were being taken, even though the score line's like a bit less dominant than the 5-0. Trinidad was a much better team than Barbados, and it did show on the field, especially in the second half. But for this game, just everybody in the team was showing their technical ability. Build up was going really well, and I think while everybody did stand out, I think there were two players who really separated themselves today. One of them was Pedro Soma in the defensive midfield position, and just a very good performance by him, dropping in deep into the midfield, picking up the ball and progressing it forward. Also defensively, he was doing a decent job breaking up some attacks. I'm not sure if he'll be able to do that against Canada. I think he's still a bit more of an 8 right now, and Mendoza was playing so well in the last game that I kind of want him on the field as well. So I'd probably be playing Soma a bit further forward, but I think that's a pretty good thing. He was doing well today, and I think the biggest thing with him is when he gets on the ball, he just progresses the ball forward so well. I know that's a big thing with advanced analytics with soccer right now, progressive passes. I'm sure if we had that for him today, he would just be off the charts. He would get the ball, and I think he moved it forward just about every time he had it, and every single time it was a safe pass. That's just what you love to see with a player in that sixth position. And if he can really grow defensively, which I think he might be able to, we could have a very strong six in the near future, and he's someone to keep an eye on. And the other player who I was really excited about this game was David Vasquez. Maybe it's my Philadelphia Union bias, but I think that he showed a good bit. First of all, he's a left-footed player, and just being left-footed is kind of huge in the U.S. system right now. We don't have too many attackers in that spot, so that's just the first thing. But I think he really showed a lot of creativity. I think is the main thing. He'd get the ball and he'd just be able to provide a spark for this team that you don't see too much. Like we have a little bit of that in the U20 team. We have like a Diego Luna, like a Jack McGlynn, and obviously with the senior team, we have a lot of players who can do that. But with this squad, you could really see him just taking it upon himself to try to make something happen. And I really like that in a player. I think he had a very good game. His crosses are good from that left hand side. He can give us a good bit of width. And I think he was a very solid player. And those are the two, Pedro Soma and David Vasquez, who I think were the big standouts for the side. But far from the only good players, Pedro Rudisill had a very good game. Much better than his first game, obviously playing in his, well, I think he's more of a midfielder, but not playing as a left back will definitely help. Got himself a goal, and he was doing a good job connecting play, and I think that he showed a good bit of talent today. Same with Micah Burden, probably playing in a bit more of a preferred position, a bit of a false nine today for him. He could drop to midfield and help with the build-up play, which I think really helped, especially in the first half. He got himself a goal, and I don't think he was on the ball as much as he was in the first game, but in this position in the center midfield, he looked a lot more comfortable, and I think he was a big part of this team, looking good in that first half. Then I think the biggest part for the real difference in this team was the fullbacks today. I mentioned Pedro Rudisill, and he tried his best the last game, but he clearly was he's not a left back. And it showed he's a good player. He did well today. But having Sawyer Guerra come in and have a good game, and Aiden Harangi really was playing well today, I think those two helped out a ton. Guerra, I'm pretty sure he's right-footed, and he was just playing out on the left because we don't have a left back right now. But you couldn't tell. His left-footed crosses were very good. We scored from one, and I think he had a very good shot with his left foot. And I think he's comfortable enough playing there. He might just be a guy who's two-footed. It certainly didn't hold him back today, and I'd feel comfortable keeping him at left back further in this tournament because he did a very good job today. And Harangi, it wasn't the he had a couple of mistakes defensively, but I think that's just it ends up happening at this level. But he was doing very well. Again, similar to Burton, going into the midfield, helping with the build-up, a couple of good attacking moves for him today, and I thought he was pretty solid today and just a good player. And with all those players going to the midfield, I actually think it's weird enough that our center midfielders haven't had the biggest impact on games. Habrun and Kino today were the center mids, and they showed a little bit of like they showed talent. Like everybody in this team was playing well, like with the ball in possession. But I think that with between them and Medina and Gill yesterday, like the midfielders aren't helping out the most the build up, and I think it's a weird quirk of the system because you'd ideally be wanting to get the most out of our center mids. I mean, like it's tough to say who's really like that great on this team yet, but certainly the highest profile players coming into this were Medina, Gill, Soma. So like you'd expect the midfielders to be like doing a bit more, but doesn't seem like it a bit. They still did have some good moves of possession, but weren't the standouts of the team. Aquino has a really good shot with his left foot, but he kind of knows that he has a really good shot and he keeps trying to use it, and he's got to get a little bit better with his right foot because he really wants to get on his left. And it's good to have lefties, but it's clearly holding him back. I think he will be able to work on that. He's like everybody has a ton of room to grow. But man, I have a feeling he's going to score one of those with this left foot. And it's going to be a pretty nice goal. Today, the defense, I feel like it was a little bit shaky. Um, I think partially just we were on the front foot so much that when you're getting like you don't have too much to do. It's hard to keep your concentration the entire game, especially like for young players. So it's not too much concern, but something to take note of. Hawkins was probably a lot better on the ball today out of the two, and he can make some good passes. I'd be interested to see him as like the right sided center back. Matai Akamboni, I'm still not sure if I'm saying his name right, is with DC United's first team. He probably will end up playing a little bit for them, and at the very least, he should be playing a good bit for Loudon in the USL. Or I hope they're still in the USL. I know some teams are transitioning to MLS Next Pro, which I don't think is that great of a level right now. But Agamboni would be somebody who I'd like to see with the U17 World Cup. But if DC decides to keep him and play him, I think that's kind of better. So, it's a win-win there. In goal, it was Adam Bowdru today. Durant Furry was rotated out. I mean, he couldn't do anything about the goal that Trinidad scored. Uh, it's hard to really say much about his game. I think with the defense, it was communicating a little bit worse today. I think that's more about Tyler Hall getting rotated out for this game because he's the team captain and you hear about his leadership a lot. I think he was missed a bit today, but you can't really judge Beaudry too much from this game. I He wasn't even used in build up. Like you can't say too much about that. Then last we had some subs. I don't think too many people impacted the game, especially because Trinidad was playing a lot better in the second half. Figaro is a player I'm trying to get a better read on. It's kind of tough because like you can see a lot of positives. Like I think his movement is actually pretty good, especially for a striker at this level. And like there's just this kind of I don't know, like maybe not creativity is the word, but just like ingenuity maybe. Like when he's in the box, like he can get shots off from a ton of angles. Even if you look up a highlight tape, you'll see him doing like a lot of acrobatic chances. He seems like a good athlete. Again, it's hard to say, not seeing too many full games from him. But there's something there, but I want to see a bit more from him. I would have liked it if he started today, but uh, going back to that false nine seems to work for this youth system if we want to stick with a 4-3-3, which it looks like we do want to stick with the 4-3-3. I'd kind of like to see us go to a 4-2-3-1, put Mendoza and Soma as the base with Medina as a 10. I think that could work well for this team. But, if we're sticking with this formation, it seems like a false nine helps us out a lot in the build up. But yes, all we really have to talk about for the American players. Trinidad. One thing with Trinidad is, like, I was watching the Canada game too. Like, 17 looks like their best player. I think his name is Webb, and they keep bringing him off the bench. Like, what's up with that? He looked like he's a big standout for those guys. There were a couple of American players on like dual nationals on Trinidad. I don't think any of them really stood out. So, but yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I think we have the game coming up against Canada next. It'll be a bit more of a challenge, but I I think that at the very least we're going to be the ones controlling the game. It's going to be much harder, but when you look at Canada, I think their men's team at all levels, they're not really comfortable with being like the better team in games. They're pretty good when they're like on the back foot. They're kind of having to be a counterattacking team. So that's why I think they could give us a good challenge. But when they have to have the ball and dominate the game, like they they're still not comfortable with that. And that's a step that they'll have to take if they want to become a better nation. But for this game, for us in the short term, it's a little bit of a problem because it's going to be a tough team to break down. Thankfully, their best defender, or one of their best defenders, picked up a second yellow card, so he's going to be suspended. So I think we should be able to win that game, but it's going to be the biggest challenge so far, and it'll really be the test to see how good we'll be at this tournament. And if we can really dominate them, I think we should get to the final relatively easily. If the game's a challenge, then it might be pretty tough. But yeah, that's all I've talked about. I think it was a good game, much more improvement. Really like Pedro Soma and David Vasquez saying. Yeah, that's all I've talked about. See you.